Hello, Savannah. Hello, Savannah. Hello, Savannah. Welcome to another edition of Kandily Kesha. Tonight, we're going to jump right into the conversation. We're going to talk about the fact that it's voting time, and tonight, some very special guests who need no introduction. These are community activists and community advocates who have been on the front lines of everything you need to know in our city and advocating for those things that mean the most to you in our city. And we have another special guest, a community citizen, concerned citizen I recently met, and thought it would be good for you to hear from him tonight. But before I get into the crime conversation, I want Miss Aldrin Murray to talk about the voting time. Can you start that conversation? Tell us everything we need to know as citizens of Savannah by way of registration. How do I register to vote if I'm interested in voting in this upcoming election? Who can I expect to be on the ballots? Where am I going to vote? And the dates of early voting, absentee ballots, everything voting. This woman knows. And tell us who you are and your title, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Kesha, for having me tonight. My name is Aldrin Murray, and I am running to keep my seat for the Board of Elections here in Chatham County. So, voter registration. It's still time to register to vote if you need to vote. You can go to the voters registration office on Eisenhower, or you can download an application off of the website and take it there or mail it there. Not only with the voter registration application, you can also use that as a change of address, or if you have changed your name recently. Make sure that you fill it out correctly, that it is signed, and have all the required information that they ask about proof of address and those type of things. The registration deadline is April the 25th, and that's also for the runoff election if there be one. The early voting will start on May 2nd. Absentee applications are now being accepted, and from the board meeting today, there's about 552 requests for absentee have already been turned in, and
Wow.
there's still time for that. The last day to request it is May 13th for the absentee request for absentee ballot. The election is actually May 24th. For that's the primary. Any nonpartisan races um, will be on that day also. Now there are many different people on county level, countywide uh, offices. I'm not really sure about which municipalities, but all of that information you can get that information from the Chatham County Board of Elections website, and also from the Secretary of State Elections Board website. All information is there on detail by county about everyone who is running for office for this primary election, and also for any special election, and also countywide, and for representatives, state representatives, and Senate, and also the congressional district, which
Grace and
is we are
blessings.
in congressional district 1.
All right.
You're not
Okay.
muted, sir. Mr. Justice Warrior, you're not muted, sir. I'm sorry, Miss Marty. Go ahead.
I know we had some new laws about the absentee. You just have to make sure that you're putting the correct information on there. It's good if you have access to the internet. You can go to my voter page to actually look at your voter registration card, because that is the information that is in their system. So you don't want to put any names on there that you don't normally use, that's not on your driver's license. So just make sure that the information is on there correct. If you don't have a good handwriting, you can get someone to fill the application out for you, and also your ballot. There's a place on there for them to sign, showing that you was assisted and who you were assisted by, if you need some help with that. And that is for anyone, and especially if you can't write, at all, or you have an issue with that, you could have a designee, a family member, or whoever your caretaker is, to do that for you.
And Ms. Murray, as an elections board member, you are have been serving in the CCDC, and you transitioned and you continue to serve at CCDC, but you are currently actively in this elected office as an elections board member. Tell us what your responsibility is as a member, where this work is concerned.
Well, as a member, it's our responsibility to make sure that we have polling places that are safe and accessible, to make sure that the poll workers, the managers, and the clerks are well trained for all elections, to make sure that we have the correct supplies, the machines, enough for each polling place based on the number of voters that are there. We just increased, the staff was just increased from 4 till I think about 10, which is really good to have those amount of full-time permanent employees there, and we don't have to worry about people leaving and going to other industries or what have you. But that's a good step forward. A new reorganization of the staff there, which is really good. And I think that because of all of that that we are doing, making sure that we vote on these very important things, and also about finding polling places is very important. When we do that, we have to make sure that that polling place is sufficient for parking and safety. Um, and that the room is big enough, and also that we have enough poll workers. I know it's over 800. We needed over 820 poll workers. We may be a little under that, but overall, I think that we are much more prepared than we have ever been for the election that's coming up. But all
And
of the
so,
things that,
with regard
yes,
to the poll workers, I want to take an opportunity right here for you to tell people how they can become a poll worker. Since you need poll workers, we want to recruit workers tonight. Let's tell them how they can reach
well,
out to
they
you.
can contact, they can go on the website. There's information on there about poll workers and what poll workers do, what's expected of them, and how to get the information to apply to be a poll worker. Or they can go to the Board of Elections office that is right next to the registrar's office that's behind the driver's Department of Transportation. Well, where you get your driver's license is right behind there on Eisenhower. So you can go there. They're open until 5, Monday through Friday, and apply to be a poll worker. As long as you meet whatever qualifications it is that they have for it, and like I said, you can go online also and
What's
inquire
that
about being a
website?
poll
What's that
worker.
web address so that our producer can put the web address in our chat or flash it so that people will know where to go online to apply to become a poll worker? And that's actually a paid job, right, Miss Murray?
It is. It is a paid job. You can go to the Board of Elections
And that's via
website, the
chathamcounty.gov.
Chatham County Board of Elections website.
Okay. And I think you access that from chathamcounty.gov, then click on Board of Elections.
Well, you can do it, or you can go directly to Chatham
Okay.
County Board of Elections. You can do
Dot
it either
dot
way.
org, Chatham County Board of Elections.org.
Yes.
Okay,
hmm
we could put that up, please. And so, can you tell us the date for early voting?
Early voting is May 2nd. It starts on May 2nd. The usual voting places will be in place for early voting. The difference in that is the Board of Registers handles early voting. The Board of Elections don't handle early voting, but the Board of Registers do.
Okay. And what about actual election day? What day is that this year?
May 24th. And the Board of Elections handles all of Election Day.
Well, I want to take this time, Miss Murray, to acknowledge a situation that I witnessed during last year's election when the lines were around the corner at the board of at the Chatham County voting site for early voting on the last day. The line started at the front door, which is in the back at the parking lot, and it wrapped its way all the way back around the building to Eisenhower. Um, we know that people were very engaged and very motivated to vote in the last election, and so it caused a lot of people to come out. But I also recognize that one of the issues that made those lines so long was the fact that they only had 3 or 4 machines in the whole building. And so, what is it that we can do or ask our Chatham County commissioners to do to get more voting machines in that building so people are not having to stand in those long lines?
Okay, so any complaints that anyone would have about the voting machines, they actually should direct that to the Board of Elections,
Hmm.
and let them know what precinct it was and what the exact issue was about that. If it was not enough, as a matter of fact, that was discussed today in Billy Wooten, who is the supervisor of elections, a report, and he did report that they plan to deploy 2,100 pieces of electronic election equipment on
Okay.
that day. So we have more machines. I think they really are more prepared than they ever was,
Awesome.
for that, and understand that there was a need for more machines. And they do know that certain areas are is like kind of booming with new residents, and so they're gonna try to make sure that everything is in certain amount of time, that they have to have everything ready and in place. And so that is being worked on, and have been working. They've been working on that to make sure that we don't have those type of hookups. And also with the new guidelines and with the lines, based on the lines, we can get extensions on the pole closing according to the size of the lines, because the lines should only be like an hour, and no more than that. And they can tell by the number of people in the lines if it's going to be longer than the 7 o'clock cutoff time, for that. And it can ask for that extension, for that particular poll to stay open until everyone has had uh, time to vote. But the line does cut off, and it will stop at 7 o'clock, and where they will, after that, even though they are still people are still voting, no one else would be able to get in that line. So they are working on that. They understand about the last election and the different difficulties. There have been some moving around of voters from different polls to try to even it out, far as the load of voters. In some polls, a lot, many numbers, but a lot of those people are absentee voters. So the number looks large, but it actually isn't compared to the actual number of registered voters that actually come and vote.
Okay, thank you
And
so much for
those
that
are some of the
information.
things we actually discussed, today at the board meeting. The board meeting is every second Monday at
Mhm.
3:30. You can get on the Zoom call. You can't speak or ask questions, but you can be there during the meeting. But if people would like to ask questions, and if they have any questions, they can certainly get in touch with me. My information is on the Board of Elections website. I would be happy to answer questions if they want to mail it in, or if they want to email it in directly to me, or for all board members, they also can do that.
Okay, and as we close, we want to always also acknowledge that you are running for re-election of this post. And is there anything you
Yes.
want to offer in terms of information, how people can reach out to you, find out more about you? And we plan to have a candidates forum and
Okay.
bring all of our candidates back. But because you're here today, I just decided to ask you to give us a little bit of information about how folks can contact you and find out more information about your re-election.
Okay. Well, I have a Facebook page. I don't have a website, but I do have a Facebook page. They can email me, or they can call me directly at 912-604-7112. And I would be happy to speak with them and answer any questions that they about me. They can go to my Facebook page. I have about 4 different videos on there. And they can find out what I'm talking about and the things that I am speaking on. And this is one of the reasons I'm running, because I think it's important to have the right people in that seat to speak up for everyone, and especially for those who don't know who to ask, what to ask. And so I'm going to be that voice for all of those people and for all voters of Chatham County who want to vote. And they should have the right to vote if they are eligible to vote, to a place that's safe and that's manned by people who are properly trained with the right equipment and enough equipment for them to vote.
Well, it sounds like you've already been doing a good job for us. So we're going to give you an opportunity to come back with the other candidates and speak more about your platform. We appreciate you stopping in tonight. You can stay and join the conversation if you'd like, but we want to move on with our conversation on crime, which
I don't know if you can hear me, but most of it was what you said was I couldn't hear it. It was all
you
broken
can't.
up.
You, uh oh, can you hear me now? Can y'all hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, you're frozen on my side.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. Well, our conversation is done, so I'm sorry about
Okay.
that. But listen, we want to start our conversation about crime in our community, which is quite disturbing. We are experiencing a public health issue in our city. Let's just say what it is. Let's just say Savannah is in a crime crisis. Crime has never been as high as it is now uh, under any administration, black or white, Democrat or Republican, male led, female led. It's very, very high now under this current administration. And we know what is going on across the nation, but we also know the bearing capacity of Savannah, and we recognize that we can do better, and we need to do better. What is it that we can do better? We can do many things when it comes to tackling crime and combating the toughest issues that are facing our community. It doesn't just take one thing. It takes a multifaceted approach to tackle this issue and to create the harmony that we deserve in our community. But I submit to you that we are barely doing much of any of it. And let's start off by talking about homicide. Right now, we are probably at 10. I hate keeping count. I should keep count. And I want to say before I start talking about homicide, because it is such a sensitive issue for the families who have lost those loved ones, I extend condolences and sympathy to you. We recognize that the streets of Savannah are not safe. Of course, we do know that we have the element of situational violence, and that is persons who are engaged in the midst of whatever the criminal element that runs rampant in our streets. But we also know that there are people who are not a part of the criminal element who are losing their lives. We also know that the episodes related to aggravated assaults, the fact that in aggravated assaults are all of those crimes consistent with attempted murder with regard to rape, robbery, strangulation, right? We have had occurrences, many occurrences in our city of gun violence, shootings, with no rhyme or reason. They happen as early as 9 o'clock in the morning and as late as 11:59 in the evening at night. Uh, Not only on the weekends, Monday through Friday. There's no rhyme or reason for what's going on our streets. In addition, we have had since the summer 7 officer-involved shootings. Now, some may say, with regard to the BBI investigation, uh, objectively, uh, they may have been acceptable by way of police standards. But I say to you that a year ago, or
I
we
didn't, but
mostly only have one per year. You have some background somewhere. Generally, there's one officer involved shooting per year, is what we've been averaging in Savannah. We have had 7 since the summer. So something is going on in our city. I wanted to bring in a special guest tonight, a concerned citizen of our city who actually was a person who attempted CPR on a person who ultimately lost their lives. And we had a exchange about his take on what his experience was and what he sees. And I just wanted to give him an opportunity to talk about this because oftentimes we as African American leaders and some of the African American advocates and activists, when we are railing against the system, railing against the establishment, advocating and uncovering those things, it often appear to be that only Black people are concerned. And so when I talked to this gentleman, it helped me to understand that this is a public health issue and our greater public is concerned about the number of African American men and boys down on the streets of Savannah. Sir, you want to weigh in here?
Thank you. Thank you for having me on, and thank you for talking to me. Some of that violence that Alderwoman Gibson Carter spoke about visited my neighborhood. My neighborhood is wonderful. It's a working class neighborhood. When I spin around in my yard and point to the houses, 95% of them I know the names, and the phone numbers of the people inside. They are black, they are white. They represent all of America and all of Savannah. And as far as we can tell, for absolutely no reason whatsoever, a man lost his life in the middle of the day during spring break. Children were out earlier in the day, not at that particular time, luckily, but they could have been. No one knows why it happened. No one thinks that he did anything to bring it on. This man had a career. He had a job. He had family. He had friends. I've met some of them. And he went to the store and didn't make it home because someone in this city decided that he should just die for no reason. And it has broken my heart, absolutely broken my heart. It broke my heart that day. It broke my heart when I read the newspaper, and it was just treated as an aside. We got some basic statistics about him, and we got some basic statistics about the suspect. A terribly written description that really didn't help anybody do anything. He wasn't humanized. He wasn't humanized at all, and I don't know what to do, but I'd like to be part of doing something because these people that are dying are human beings. They're human beings. The people who are doing the shooting are human beings that somewhere along the line got broken to the point where they can just take somebody else's life. Some of the victims are probably people that have made bad decisions, but some of them are just people going about their lives. And I don't know what to do. There's a separateness that I feel that needs to be fixed. I don't see people with my skin color standing up and yelling about it. We just read the little thing in the newspaper and then, go tisk tisk, I guess. It's not enough. It's not enough. These are our neighbors. These are this is our community. These are people who they go to school with our children, our children go to school together to a certain extent. By the time high school rolls around, they've split up and it's no longer together. It's apart. I don't know if that's part of it, but it's something that digs at me. We need to live together. We need to grieve together. We need to fix this together. I don't know. I wish I had more to say. I wish I had an answer. I just have a very emotional gripe, I guess. But thank you for letting me be part of the conversation.
Well, and rightfully so. We recognize that witnessing something so up close does have a lasting impact. And we often say that it's not just the survivor of the crime, but it's also those who were in the immediate area, or if I venture to say that a lot of us in Savannah are suffering from PTSD. One of the things that I say is happening is we are becoming desensitized to these crimes against African-American men and boys, right? We hear and we see on the nightly news and we read in the paper and we just continue to go on with our lives because it's as if they don't matter anymore. Dr. Teray, I asked you and Mr. Murray, because you are two who have been very vocal in our community. You've led many voices and given voice to this work and to these efforts and have been somewhat critical of our administration and previous administrations. Given the fact that I myself, as a sitting alderwoman, we have not been privy to this report, but we just received the report that was a survey of sorts of our police department, which we have been advocating for. My first 2 months in office, I think maybe the first quarter of taking office in 2020, we were already eclipsing the number of homicides that year than the previous year. Right now, we have already eclipsed the number of homicides from the last 2 years and from the last 4 years of the last administration. Our record of aggravated assault per capita, if matched with Atlanta, we would exceed it. And so we know that we have an issue from starting with our school system to the management of our police department to the lack of programs and activities for our youth to policies that have not been implemented and policies that have failed with regard to policing and how we police. But first and foremost, Mr. Murray, I want you, from your perspective and from what you can see in terms of what has been going on, what do you have to lend to this conversation tonight?
Well, first, I'd like to thank you for inviting me on your show, Alderwoman Kesha, Alderwoman Carter. It's just a lot to take in, really. Although it's refreshing to hear this gentleman, this concerned citizen, raising his voice, because I do think it will have some impact. I'm just trying to get my words together, but one thing that stuck with me when he mentioned the incident that really have him disturbed like that is he mentioned the human element, and I feel that that's very important because, like you said, we all are human beings. We want the same things out of life. We want to make a decent living where we can take care of our children. Hopefully have a long life where we can see our grandchildren and some cases great grands. That being said, I personally don't consider myself an activist. I just consider myself someone who has the courage to speak up when I feel there's a need to speak up. And now is that time, and again, it's good to hear, quite frankly, a Caucasian brother saying this because it will have impact, whether it happens tonight, because it's people hearing this. And again, it's the human element. You can hear the hurt in his voice. And, to me, that's the humanity. So I'm just asking, our fellow citizens in Savannah, just show more humanity of the situation that's happening. My life experience is not the same as some of the others. I've been through different generations and I've seen things in my lifetime. And from a political landscape, we have had different administrations with different leaders and seem like we're still getting the same results. I personally think it should be more resources to the areas that need it. I'm not speaking from a communist or a position, but I'm speaking from a position that one of our revered leaders has spoke about, and I'm speaking of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Some of the same issues that are happening now has been happening in the past. It's just happening a little differently. They're getting a little more sophisticated on how they do it. But some of the same things are happening because if it wasn't, I personally believe that we wouldn't be in the situation. I don't believe in a Gestapo type enforcement But we know some of the areas that that we have the problems with. Um, let's use some different techniques on how we resolve some of these issues, other than come out with guns ablazing. I'm just using an analogy, but still, I don't have the data to back up anything, so I'm not going to speak from a statistical standpoint. But it was quite alarming to even know about the police involved shootings that have left individuals dead. Um, like I said, I've seen some things in my lifetime. I'm not accusing anyone of anything, although I'm speaking from a historical standpoint. I recall where this gentleman was shot multiple times downtown in an alley. He was going to the ATM, you know. Uh, so when you know about situations and you hear stuff, you know, come with some uh, come with some believable information, and I'm gonna stop right there because I feel like I'm kind of rambling, but still, I think the gist of what I'm saying is that I feel that the government should, well, quite frankly, the city and the county government, if they really want to make a change, if we have leaders with the will to make that change, then I just don't understand why they're afraid. Ultimately, the voters supposed to put the leaders in those positions. So I admonish the voters: pay attention to what's happening and to what's going on. And if if you feel that there may be some repercussions of what you say, then go in the voting booth and vote for what's right.
Right. Well, and speaking to statistics, Mr. Murray, and you said something that will stick with me and stay. And for me, that was enough of having this show tonight. And your comment was, because our guest is here, it's your belief that more people who look like him will now start speaking up and speaking out about this crime issue, because I feel like we as African Americans have railed against the system and railed against the status quo so much that it seems as if it's a Black issue, and it's not just a Black issue. And to have him lend his voice to it tonight, and have you recognize that yes, this is the weight that we need to make a real change in Savannah. I often say that Savannah is only as united as her leader guides her. It is leadership who divides this community, and leaders who engage in decision making that separates us is what causes the divide. I'll speak to the statistics, Mr. Murray. In this report that we have not received as a council, I don't know why, one, as a leader of this city, I didn't know a survey or a report was being done among our police uh, staff, police officers, because we've been asking for it and requesting it since the beginning of my time on council. Two, I don't know why the report wasn't shared with me. We had to learn that this report was circulating on the street. And so my question to leadership will be, why were we not informed? In addition, I will be requesting that we go into executive session to discuss this report and to discuss its findings, because by way of statistics and percentages, Mr. Murray, 88% of our police officers say that the department is grossly understaffed. 84% of them say that their precinct is understaffed. They have a strong concern about the leadership at the Savannah Police Department. Our police officers are gravely concerned about the lofty goals of our council and their command staff. And so they feel as if there is a disconnect. And I feel their pain, because I, as a sitting council member, I have an expectation by what it is we need and desire on behalf of our residents from our police officers. But if I, as the leader, am not responsible enough to make sure that they have the tools are equipped and paired with the necessary resources to do their jobs, it's unfair for us. We call on our law enforcement to protect and serve our community. As leaders, it is our duty to protect and serve our police department. And so, what is it that we can do? Where is it that we can go? Uh, Dr. Teray, I would like for you to weigh in from your perspective what it is you've seen happening as of late, and then tie it into what you've heard here tonight and close us out, sir.
Well, I'm gonna share this with you. Last week we were on some of the other HR shows, and I made a statement last week, and some people did not like it. It bothered some people, and I elaborated on it. And then this weekend, I also posted something on social media with regard to some of the events that took place last week. And so, but I'm gonna throw something out there. When Brother Carl Murray talked about the incident of the individual going downtown on Broad Street, they were going to the SunTrust Bank. That was Otis Parker. Otis Parker, an African American man. He and his wife are going downtown. They go to the bank, and he is shot by undercover police officers. And this is around 1986 when this occurs, downtown Savannah. And what I shared with some folks last year and 2 years ago, I used the Otis Parker scenario to say that that was a message to African Americans, especially some young African Americans, that we were no longer welcome downtown. Before we could go down there easily and see, that's when we begin to see some of the changes. But what I had shared last week, and now all Carter, some of your listeners, your viewers may not like what I'm about to say. Well, again, I'm saying to you all, it's not her saying it, I'm saying it. You come address me about it, and I'm not going to have a social media conversation with you. We're going to go off the air. You contact me. We'll talk about it. What needs to happen. You have to have a tourist shot downtown in Savannah. You have to have a visitor shot downtown or in the tourist areas in the city of Savannah. Some people get all stunned that I had said this last week, but some other people began to understand. If something happened to one of the tourists down there where they are shot and they kill, you will see reformation. You see policy changes with regards to policing and everything with regard to the crime in the city of Savannah. But what is so shameful about this is that here go the citizens who live in the city of Savannah are not protected and no one's concerned about it. And Alderwoman Gibson Carter, it is a health crisis that we have, a public health crisis. It is a crisis that we have going on here right now. And that's why I think the only way that the crisis gets resolved by some people's mind is that it has to be a tourist kill. And when that happens, then I understand and say, I told you so. But it should not be coming down to me telling say, I told you so. You need to listen to some of us. And what is going on is that we know communities are not traumatized. Just like I said, it's witnesses, it's people I had in my classes at Georgia Southern. I discussed this issue last week. And one young lady said, my best friend was right. It was in the backyard where the 14-year-old got killed in Frazier Homes. And she talked about how her friend and how she's even afraid to go over there into Frazier Homes. And so we know, but our children are there, our elders are there, and everybody's traumatized. And so what's been happening is that we have leadership. And it's not just political leadership. It's religious leadership. It's educational leadership. It's social. It's business leadership. All of them not addressing the issue because they have looked at it as being just a black issue. So that's what I'm saying. I'm going to say this right now. I don't give the Caucasian community in Savannah, Georgia, any accolades when they finally acknowledge it. They should have been listening to us long ago. This is not anything new, but because you want to compartmentalize it, act like it's okay for you. And I told people this, that Savannah is hell for some people who live right here, and it's heaven for others. And so, but now when that hell becomes to visit your side over there, that's when you begin to understand. Ricky Dickinson said that when they were killing black folks, dropping the bodies off in Tatumville or in the lanes on Henry Street Lane, nobody said anything. But when they finally killed the Caucasian in Ardsley Park, that's when everybody then got upset and wanted to do something. So now, what I'm going to tie it into something on last week. Again, we talk about displacement. We talk about affordable housing, a lack of affordable housing. Guess what? I'm around one of my friends, a good friend, who's Caucasian, and he discussed about housing in Savannah, the issue with that. Then when we talking about it, so then a woman comes, a Caucasian woman comes up, she said, I want to retire. She's from Savannah. I want to retire and live downtown. She said, I can't even afford to live downtown anymore. And I looked at her, I said, Huh? She said, I can't even live there. I said, Savannah's no longer for Savannans. So that's why I'm saying this whole issue. I said, guess what? All these social ills in this city that people, and I said, when some of us are standing out, they're talking about it, y'all say it's a black issue. It is not a black issue. It is a human issue. And it's a human issue that we must be concerned about, the least and the left out. I tell folks, guess what? If you look out for the people on the bottom of the society, if you lift them up, that means your entire society is elevated. But as long as you let those people remain there in the bottom, then you have an oppressive society. And what we got in Savannah, Georgia, Chatham County, Georgia, is an oppressive society. So when we see all this harm coming, guess what? You can't be surprised about it. Don't make any excuses for anybody. If you are a good person, you stand up and speak out. Asian, Latino, African, Caucasian, Native people, you stand up and speak out about it so we can bring about changes. Your leadership here, they're not leaders. They're pseudo leaders, and we need to stand up and hold people accountable. Just like Brother Murray said, and what you've been saying, Alderwoman Gibson Carter, and our concerned citizens, we must hold people accountable. No longer let your church members, your family, friends, and family members, and your people you went to school with dictate you how you're supposed to be functioning. You know what's right. Stand up for what's right.
Right. And that is the least that we want to release tonight on our listening audience. We want to let people know that this is not just situational violence. Our leadership has said in each of these situations, the mayor has acknowledged that these young people know who is committing the crime against them. And because they are silent, when the police is at the bedside with the initial investigation, they won't tell who shot them. That's not going to solve our crime. That's not going to stop our crime, because we realize that it's an element of that behavior and that way of living and thinking is to the detriment of their survival. It's the community we have created. We, the leaders of Savannah, via failed policies and the fact that we have not put forth aggressive and progressive policy, we thereby have created the crime that our youth are finding themselves in. And so if you look at who is dying on the streets of Savannah, on average, it's young men between the ages of 13 and 25, 27 years old. If you subtract 10, 12 years from their ages, guess where they are? They are in our public schools. Guess where they are? They are in our communities. You know what that means in the community of Savannah? That means that undoubtedly they are living in overcrowded conditions, doubled up on the sofa or in beds of their relatives' homes. That means they quite possibly may be living at the Motel 6 on Eisenhower or at the Extended Stay Hotel on Ogeechee Road. What else does that look like? That looks like their mom working a low-wage job in the hotel industry, tourist industry of Savannah, cleaning toilets and making beds, only to have to leave that job and go to another job to make ends meet, to try to stay afloat. And what does that mean? She's having to leave her children home alone. That makes them susceptible to the criminal element in our community. And because the community centers are not open, because there are limited athletic and recreational facilities for them, they don't have an outlet. And so then they're easily recruited. I have an email post, Dr. Teray, that was consistent with the account that you gave, that you said that you may receive strong critique. I want to applaud you for your words because they are real. This young woman posted a little over 12 hours ago, and I don't know who this person is, but it was sent to me at random. She says, I drive an Uber in Savannah. I pick up mostly tourists. Several of them have told me that they were told that there's a 1% chance that they will be involved in a crime, that basically there basically is no crime in Savannah against white people, and they are completely safe. And all crime in Savannah is black on black, and in certain areas like off MLK. Another person commented, yes, because I have also picked up many people who told me that they are told to stay in the historic district because nothing will happen to them. And if you notice, a lot of them are buying up a lot of property on MLK, which ultimately will result and where Black people will become homeless really soon. And so this is a real element. It's a real dynamic. And I want to say to you, Dr. Teray, you said some tough things tonight that were hard to hear. I want to say to our concerned citizen, you said some tough things that were hard to hear tonight. And I want to say to you, Mr. Murray, that I hope among all of those things, what you said, in terms of you feel like this will make a difference as we go forward. And so we want to continue to make mention to our law enforcement, because we know that this is a big part of where we are. They say we can't police our way out of crime. And guess what? We sure can't. When we're understaffed more than 100, we're never going to police our way out, right? And so we acknowledge that if we are consistently not given an accurate account of who really is on the department and who isn't, we're never going to get there, people. We right now are experiencing a strong bleed, a profuse bleed within our department. When we are losing skilled, talented officers and detectives who are actually solving crime and doing well in the department, when we're losing them to smaller departments, when we're losing them to our Board of Education, police department, something really, really is wrong. And so as your Alderwoman at large, we want you to know that as we go forth, we will continue to advocate for those policies that will make the changes with regard to personnel in our department, which will also promote increased pay for our police department, our police officers. We want you to know that we will continue to push for community policing. We will continue to recruit. We will continue to push for mutual aid. We need mutual aid. If it was fit for us to have mutual aid for the 3 to 4 day St. Patrick's Day holiday for tourists and visitors, surely we should have mutual aid for the people who pay taxes and live here in Savannah. We also want to push for a mentorship program for our young police officers. Listen to me when I say we have had 7 police-involved shootings since the summer. When we have rookie police officers who are new onto the force, training other new police officers, Houston, we have a problem. And so essentially what we are doing is we're increasing the danger to the public, but we are also putting these well-intended police officers. I do not believe in my heart of hearts that we have more ill-will police officers than bad. And so I'll say it this way. I believe that most police officers who sign up for this job truly sign up to protect and serve and not hunt and kill, okay? And so what we don't want to do, we do not want to put unskilled police officers who are not ready on the streets of Savannah and communities that they are already afraid of. We can't do it. If they are not trained, if they are not ready, if they have not been cultivated and given an opportunity to establish relationships and rapport with people in our neighborhoods they police, we are putting them at a disadvantage. We are putting them at a disadvantage, thereby putting them in danger of their life as well as their freedom. And so with that, gentlemen, I would like to continue this dialogue, continue this conversation, because I think it has been good for our community. You can come back on a little later and check out the questions and the comments of persons in our chat and respond to them at will. And I want to encourage the citizens of Savannah to be vigilant, to be safe, and to continue to be engaged. Don't just sit back and watch what's happening. And I want to just send a message to the media and ask that you stop providing cover for the establishment. Stop providing cover for the establishment. Cover and report on the real crime in real time, and provide coverage that the city of Savannah's citizens deserve. Thank you, gentlemen. You have a good night.
Same you, y'all.
Thank you very much.
Peace and blessings.
Good night.
like this. I like this. I like this. I like this. I like this. Like this.